How's it going out there? I see Elliot Brenner has already joined us. Good to see you, my friend. Howdy, y'all. Well, I'm going to pick a tune, and then we'll talk about meditation. Or we'll just meditate. Hey out there, Lewis. Alright, I was picking this one earlier today. Let's see if I can actually keep up with it again. Might fall on my face, but that's what this is all about, people. Barely holding on. Yeah. Yeah, my low G was out of tune. Dang. Just slightly. We can fix it in post, I think. Oh, man. Thanks for joining me on that one, folks. That was Dear Old Dixie. I was working on that on banjo with a bunch of my students at Denison this semester, and I was like, thinking earlier today, can I play this on guitar? And the answer is kinda. But it's fun. It's a fun set of chord changes to try and blow over, you know? Nice. Is polka on a guitar legal? It's preferred, in fact, actually, Elliot. You know what? Just for that, we were gonna get to meditating, but I'm playing one more tune, man. Just to show you that polka should be widely loved guitar tradition. A lot of people call this one, I'm going to see if I can remember it first off. A lot of people call this one clarinet polka, but I've heard from people that that's actually not the right name for it. Clarinet polka is a different polka, and this was, yeah, anyways. Some people call this clarinet polka. You can see Graham Townsend playing it on YouTube under that title. always like ending on the C part. So, there you have it. 2 polka type things on the guitar. There you go. Polka was meant for guitar. I will say, I got my. I'm sure you guys have been in this situation too. I pulled it off, but let's talk about it, right? Because this is Mindful Music Maker. The B part, my first time through it, my pick strokes. Go back and watch the YouTube video later. I got backwards. I started getting upstrokes on downbeats because I didn't catch the B part right. And I was like, you could probably see me laughing because I was like really trying to hold on during that part. The last 2 phrases of the B part were correct. So if you're transcribing this later, you can look at those last 2 phrases of the B part. Anyways, yeah, folks, good to put yourself out there a little bit. This is Mindful Music Maker, right? So being in the moment, taking what comes at us. Thanks so much for all of you out there. I can see that we've got a few viewers. Hey, Ricky. Hey, Elliot. Hey, Lewis. Oh, Em is out there. I always love it when my sister shows up. Sister-in-law, but she's my sister. And then Mr. Johnny Brandstetter. Good to see you guys out there. Always a pleasure. Let's meditate, and then we can talk about stuff. If this is your first time joining us, I see we got Ricky out there. I just like to meditate for 5 minutes at the top of every call. I found that this is something that's valuable to me, and I think science agrees with me on that one. So what we're going to do is like a form of mindfulness meditation where we focus on the breath. I think now's an appropriate time to get into a nice, relaxed, upright, comfortable posture. If you're sitting down like I am, I always try to get up on my sits bones. That's been recommended, kind of a slight curve in your lumbar. Put your feet flat on the ground, and then kind of do what I like to think of as drawing a string from the crown of your head up to the ceiling. So you kind of get like a nice straight spine, curve in your lumbar. Shake out any tension you might have. Stretch a little bit. And then, it's like a Ricky Bobby moment, right? Like, what do I do with my hands? You can place your hands on your lap. That's what I do. Some, like Buddhists, they like to make the little paws or whatever. That's pretty cool. But because I'm always curving my fingers to do guitar stuff, I try to keep them straight. It's a good opportunity to do that. So stretch your hands out and keep them straight if you're a picker like me. All right, gang, get into that position, and we're just simply going to focus on our breath. See if you can keep your mind on the in-breath and out-breath. If it helps, count out-breaths and start over at 21. That's what I do. See you on the other side. welcome back. Or maybe you were already here. Well, I always ask after each one, how do you think that meditation went? We can use this opportunity to rate ourselves on a scale from 1 to 10, but not necessary if you don't want. Even if it just felt good to sit there, you can give it a high rating. I'm going to give myself a solid 6 today. I made it to 21 breaths after a couple times of failing to count to 21. Yeah, that's me and Elliot are in the same boat. Yeah. Means we've just got active minds today, right, man? Nothing wrong with that. Ems almost fell asleep. It's not a bad thing either. Well, I think we... Nice. Ricky says 5 for a first timer. That's awesome, man. Yeah, appreciate you throwing that out there, Ricky. If you had a 5 for the first time, that's pretty dang good, man. Meditation was something that I just didn't get for a minute, I was like sitting there. I think you have to just be, a lot of us, at least me, have to get used to just like sitting and being still, and being in the present, There are so many things, I think, vying for our attention that are either mired in the past or the future, and my mind, likes to rapidly bounce back and forth between the two things. So meditation has been a cool way to kind of like ground it here. And the only way to get somewhere is to just take a series of small steps, that lead to the destination. I would say I'm 5 or 6 steps in. Awesome. Well, gang, I'm kind of feeling like playing a tune. But after that, I figured I would talk a little bit more. I can't recommend it enough. I've mentioned it on the stream a few times. There's a book called Effortless Mastery by a musician, a jazz pianist named Kenny Werner. And I would suggest that anyone interested in like mindfulness and improving your ability to stay in the moment and play with your kind of full capacity, I would say. It's hard to put these things into words, but some of the stuff that Kenny talks about in the book is real deep and but really practical too, so I think y'all should give that a read. There's this concept of fear-based listening that he talks about, though. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but the idea of being scared to listen to something because of the feelings that might evoke in you, and the judgment that you might feel about yourself for not living up to the sounds that you're hearing and stuff like that. Let's play another tune, though. It's feeling like a G kind of day. Oh, yeah. G kind of day. Let's do it. Dixie Hoedown. Love that. Love that tune. Jim and Jesse. Sorry, too, I realized I was like, man, my backing track's screaming loud, and I tried to, like, craftily move the volume knob with my toe. Never a good idea, folks. So, yeah, I was talking about this Kenny Werner thing. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Because I don't know about you guys, if you're musicians or whatever you do, you know, stuff that we all are on a journey of trying to better ourselves, and what are we doing to get there, you know? And part of my journey is I feel like the need to listen to a lot of music, right? Because I'm a musician, I need to stay on top of my craft, I need to know what other people are doing, I need to, you know, expand my vocabulary, all that kind of stuff, hone my vocabulary, whatever you want to call it. But I just realized that, like, over the last year, I looked at my, like, top, you know, Spotify does these things at the end of the year and other services like your top 20. And it was like the same 3 artists and a lot of podcast time. I'm like, oh man, this is not good. And after I was reading that Kenny Werner book last week, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly why I'm not listening to music. I think, like, I was thinking a lot as I was unpacking the feelings related to it, that, like, I was not listening to music because I was scared of what I was going to hear, and I'm busy with my, you know, with my job and with my students and all this kind of stuff, and the thought of, like, having to learn one more thing and add it to the list, you know, it seems like this crushing thing that can build up inside your mind over time. So to break out of that habit, today I listened to some new music again for the first time. So I would suggest to anyone out there feeling a similar thing, just do the thing that you've been avoiding. You know what I mean? Like, because we're not doing it because the weight of getting better scares us sometimes, at least for me. So that's kind of my thought on that. And I think having some kind of touchstone like this Kenny Werner book, or whatever it is in your life, you know, if you want to sit down and meditate for a few minutes every day and just kind of think critically about something, having a touchstone to, like, check in with yourself and why you may be avoiding certain things is always a good plan, in my opinion, especially for a guy with some self-destructive habits like the one I just described, you know. Oh, Johnny's asking for the title of the book. How about I just use this keyboard in front of me. Let me make sure I'm getting his name right. Yeah, W-E-R. Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner. Highly recommend the book for musicians looking to kind of deepen their understanding of the instrument. And it's not even about, like, the instrument. It's about understanding our minds and the kind of self-sabotaging behaviors that we have, like fear-based listening. Listening to music and turning it off because you're like, oh God, I can't live up to that standard, or I can't bear the thought of having to learn one more thing, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I heard kind of Mike Marshall and Daryl Anger give a really good talk on this one time. It was actually Mike Marshall specifically, I think, who was talking about, you know, in like the pre-digital era, there were only so many ways to get music. So, like, what you were able to get your hands on, you kind of jumped into, you know, head first and soaked the whole thing up. You learned everything because that's all you had. You know, you had the one album, physical album in your hands. And I remember this from, like, the CD days, you know what I mean? Like, I played along with those AC/DC and Metallica records so much because that's what I had, you know. I was, like, into that stuff. And I think, you know, he went on to say in the midst of that conversation that, like, the overwhelm that we may experience as a result of being able to access any music these days, it's what they call, like, decision friction, I think, online and stuff. There are studies on this where, like, if consumer studies, you know, where if you have too many mustard options at the grocery store, you're less likely to be satisfied with any of the choices you make. It's like this psychological phenomenon. Don't you love the human mind? Like, what a crazy thing. So I think I'm experiencing some of that in my own musical journey right now. It's like there are so many options that no matter what I choose, I'm getting FOMO, you know, and don't really know what's going on. But just dive in. You know what I mean? I feel like I have to check in with this and unsabotage the self-sabotage stuff. And Kenny Werner has a great insight into this. That book, I've read, this will be my second reading of it, and I think I'm just gonna turn straight around and do like a third and a fourth reading. It's really good to kind of, his methodology I don't think can be overstated, or at least thought process through dealing with these things. And he talks about meditation and offers some meditations in the book and stuff like that. So if you are a musician, I think these are really good exercises to do specifically for cultivating the mind in the act of playing music. All right, that's enough jibber jabber. Back to the music. I've been kind of playing a lot more guitar lately. I'm getting ready for Steve Kaufman's camp. I got signed on as an instructor a little late this year, and I'm really excited to go down and hang with Steve and all the campers and instructors down there. Steve is like, obviously, as like an online instructor or whatever I'm trying to do with this stuff, Steve is like one of the OG dudes. Steve Kaufman is like one of my earliest memories of seeing a DVD for flat picking guitar with Steve Kaufman. The guy is kind of like a legend that way. So real excited to go kind of pick with Steve and all the other instructors down there. We've got Alan Shadd, another Winfield winner like Steve. So Mark Cosgrove, another great guitar player and educator. So it's going to be a fun time. If you guys aren't doing anything the third week in June, come on down. They probably would still sell you a ticket, I bet. But yeah, getting back into some guitar playing. Let's see what I can stir up here. I'm trying to pull out all my weird tunes. Oh yeah, let's see if I was trying this one earlier. Everybody always plays the same flat pick tunes, right? So I try to mix it up and get my Western swing stuff or something in there. Let's see if I can do this one. Maybe let's go a little quicker than that. Nice. Well, that was the old Steel Guitar Rag. Sorry, I was just checking out the comments there, seeing if there's any chatter worth noting. Lewis, hope you're having a good session tonight, man. Be well. Skeeter Reed, Freebird, get out of here. No, I might actually try that one someday. That's Freebird. It gets a lot of hate because everyone, says Freebird whenever requests are made. But it's a great tune. Oh, nice. Johnny says, "Where's Grandma's guitar?" Grandma's guitar is right behind me there, sir. Yep. I'm giving it a rest today. I like the Posh. This one's a I love this guitar. This was kind of like my first big purchase guitar, like it was my first like custom. Actually, no, that's false. I got one from Todd Sam's before this, and then destroyed it. Sorry, Todd, killed that guitar. But this was like my first big purchase after that one. It was definitely the most money I had spent on an instrument at that point in time. I love Leo Posh does great work. If any of you guys are in the market for a flat top guitar, his dreads are great like this one, but his Gibson style guitars are beautiful, man. He makes a great like J35 kind of copy and stuff like that, or LOO. Yep, no way I would sell Grandma's guitar though. Grandma's still alive, so Grandma would be really mad if I sold Grandma's guitar. It's still her guitar. I'm just taking care of it. It sat in an attic forever, and I honestly had to put like a couple grand into it to get it back into playing shape. Like, old guitars are always a project like that. It's just like a house or something, I'm gonna try and play another tune here. What's another good one? No, that's not a call for requests. I've got some specific ones I need to practice. Let's see. I'm kind of feeling swingy a little bit. Let's try this one. We were jamming this the other day. Yeah, that's probably a good tempo. I love Strum Machine, by the way. Like, I don't have an official thing with them or anything like that, but if you guys need a backing track app or don't have anything to play with, just get Strum Machine. It's the best $50 you'll spend in a year, I promise. Here we go. Gonna try a little bit of Sweet Georgia Brown. goofy on that one. Lost track of the ending. Oh, nice. Ricky's got some good questions. Carl Walsh is out there. Good to see you, buddy. Nice. Carl's one of my students. Love Carl. I've got a couple students out there. Johnny, good to see all you guys. Thanks for showing up, y'all. Oh, thanks, Randy. Randy's left a nice comment there. Only able to tune in for a minute, but man, I'm glad I did. That was Sweet Georgia Brown. Sounds awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Fun playing on that one. I'm excited to get down to Kaufman Camp and jam on some of these tunes with people because I know Alan Shadd knows Sweet Georgia Brown, and he's a slayer. That's gonna be fun. Ricky out there says, I read Kenny Werner's book per your previous video you made. Thanks for opening my mind to these things. Wondered what your thoughts were on the inner game of tennis and the mindful path to self-compassion. So, the second one I have not read, but the inner game of tennis, it's like the same thing. Kenny Werner's book is like the musician version of that book. What's the other one? Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, right? Yeah. They're all kind of in this vein of like finding that that here and now kind of energy and using a task, whether that's a musical task or some other kind of fine motion, as like a process and a place to like test these the boundaries of our mind and things like that. For me, no joke, guys, like this is so ridiculous to say, but like not really. Like Sweet Georgia Brown, the tune I just played, the knowledge that I use to improvise on that, like if I'm thinking back and kind of generalizing what I just played over most of those chord changes, the knowledge that I use to access that, I had learned in 2008. And it was really only until like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 maybe years ago that I felt total freedom, like a taste of total freedom in utilizing some of that information to create an improvisation or whatever. I don't nail it every time. I'm not saying that I'm like a Zen master of this stuff, but what I'm saying is like it was only until recently when I started exploring topics like what we're talking about here, like this Kenny Werner thing, before I was able to like use the information I had to its fullest capacity. We have to like get out of the way of ourselves. That's kind of how Kenny Werner phrases it in his book a lot. Get out of the way of ourselves and let, martial artists talk about flow state sometimes, right? Like the art of just being able to react, completely in the moment to any kind of, attack that's coming your way. And I think it's the same kind of concept that we're going for in these books and this mindfulness training, because it's like, for me, what I don't think I realized is that like, Carl says be like water. Exactly, dude. Like bend, if you, when you try and stand rigid like a rock or whatever, eventually you get eroded, right? By the things that come at you. They smack into you and they leave impressions that you didn't necessarily intend. But if you can be like water, like Carl's saying, and bend with these shifts in your immediate surroundings, it's actually a healthier way to be, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I was actually at, I went to go get TSA pre-check certification so I can, like, zoom through the line a little quicker at the airport. And I forgot that when I went to this appointment that it was going to be, like, a TSA person. And honestly, she looked like she had, just been, like, harassed by, like, 30 people in a row before me. And I was like, this is not going to be... I was on edge, you know what I mean? And it was not a great interaction, to be quite honest. I tried to be very polite, but it was just like one of those things that that really grated on me in the moment, But the cool thing is what I did in that moment. An interaction like this could have like ruined my day a couple years ago. But if you stick with your breath, like, and you hijack that kind of what is it, the sympathetic nervous system, and do that kind of thing. Like if mindfulness exercises actually have this like very quantifiable effect on the body, it like lowers your blood pressure and does all of these things to kind of actively engage with the breath and stay with it. So in that moment, I felt like a champion because I didn't freak out or like get really mad and and like throw the crap that she was giving me back at her, because I think that's where these things go wrong. And that's being like water, like Carl's saying. There was an obstacle that was coming at me, but instead of like standing rigid and sticking to my guns and be like, no, she's not gonna like patronize me that way or whatever. You just go with it. You roll with the situation. You let her do her thing. You breathe and you keep your body in the state it needs to be in. And then, you know what? I had a great rest of my day. Seriously, like 5 years ago, I would have been stewing on that all day, just like huffing around and like talking about it to everyone I met, like isn't this crazy, But like, where do those things ever lead, It takes you out of the state of remaining in control of your mind, in my opinion, which is what I'm finding Kenny Werner and his these books like The Inner Game of Tennis and stuff like that. That's really what they're getting at, remaining control of your mind, in control of your mind. The Buddhists, my wife and I go to like a sitting meditation every weekend at a local Buddhist temple, and they call it they literally call it mind training. I feel like I'm a Jedi whenever I walk in there. They're like this is mind training. You must train the mind, which is why Buddhism is kind of appealing and cool in that way, right? But yeah, so thanks for the kind words, Randy. I don't know if it's a lesson as much as just me rambling about the crap that I experience and how I maybe avoid catastrophes sometimes. Yeah. Johnny says, I think a little dose of stoicism can benefit most people. Yeah, for sure, man. People often use that term in like a bad way, but after I married my wife, who is like a classics PhD, I was like, oh, stoicism is like a different thing than, just like someone who's straight-faced and, whatever. Look it up. Look up the meaning. Yeah, Elliot says global entry. That's been on my list for a while, and I feel like I know someone who has that. They talked about the same way. Well, yeah, gang. That's kind of all I wanted to. That was like my main point of talking about tonight. But I hope that this has at least been entertaining in some kind of way for you, because I feel like. I'm not here to teach anyone about mindfulness. I'm not a certified mindfulness practitioner or professional. I do things that teachers and coaches tell me. I have a great Buddhist Lama that I check in with every now and again, named Adam Berner, who can get you squared away on mindfulness meditation. It's secular, by the way. Like, this is not like a Buddhist meeting. But you can set him up with him, and he can help you get off the ground. And because he's a Buddhist, he just takes donations, so you can, pay what you can to him. But I do that. I read these books, you know what I mean? And I feel like kind of keeping your head on a swivel that way can be good. That Kenny Werner book, can't recommend it enough. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that stuff for now. Yeah, Carl says, thanks for sharing. You're welcome, man. Anything I can give, But yeah, not here to teach. More just like to share my experience and kind of like, I almost see myself as like a guy that like discovered some kind of like, like secret, like treasure. And I'm like, yo guys, over here, this is the good stuff. Like, come check this out. I'm not an expert in this, but I know that what I've found is good and it's helped me, and it's undone a lot of harm that I think I had done to myself over the years, both like tension in my body, mental harm, just getting into negative thought patterns and stuff. And when you realize that there's like a driver, like you can take control of your mind at any point in time, like that was so liberating to me, like the negative weird thoughts that pop into your mind aren't necessarily always you. It's just stuff that happens, and you can take control and say, nah, that thought isn't really worth giving attention to. I'm going to go back to the breath or playing guitar. And with that, I'm going to play some guitar and then bid you adieu. What's a good one? Oh, I was playing this one the other day. Hopefully I don't screw this up too bad, but this is another tune I've been trying to get back in shape. Let's put it down at reasonable tempo. Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. The Cuckoo's Nest. Cuckoo's Nest. It's been so great hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for the Mindful Music Maker and listening to my ramblings. Podcast is coming along. I've been updating you guys on that for a while. Head to hazegriffin.com and sign up for the mailing list if you want to keep up to date with that. I've got 2 episodes edited, 3 in the can, so I think I'm about ready to release a first season, to be quite honest. It'll happen this summer, I promise you. But yeah, keep an eye out for all that stuff, and we'll catch you down the line. Peace, y'all.